Hello, welcome! As we voyage to the distant shores of Wilds, it's a great time to look back and reflect on the 5th gen. So let's start with the monsters that inhabited it all. Now, as all of you know, I am the cleverest person in the whole wide world, and you get the honour of my opinion. But in the unlikely event that you disagree with mine, please let me know in the comments down below. Now, there's a lot to say here, so we're just going to try and zip through some of this. There's only so much you can say about a Rathian after all. Also, despite the title, I'm not going to just try and shoehorn the lance into everything. I only bring it up when it genuinely affected my experience in a particular way, though it is the best of all the weapons. So come with me now on a journey through time and space as I rate every monster in the base game of Monster Hunter World. We're going to go roughly in order that they appear. Great Jaguarus. When all things are considered, this is actually the ideal first monster. I mean, think about it. A two-form fight, representing the ecology of the ancient forest as a protector of the Jaglings, and a chew toy for Devil Joe. Yeah, sorry about that one, Jaggy. On balance, he lacks visual impact and carried little in the way of his own distinct personality. But as a means to introduce the game, he fits the bill so well, and is certainly more interesting than Choreography Raptor, and more beginner friendly than the Harbinger of Death. Anyway, A tier, and I would be remiss at this point if I didn't at least mention the best event quest of all, the greatest Jaguarus. If you've not had a chance to go back and play it, go treat yourself, you won't regret it. It's hilarious. Kulu Yaku. That face, that chicken face. Distinctly remember seeing it in some publication before I played the actual game, and I decided I was going to hate him, bringing that Yankuk-ku trauma. Never liked Yankuk-ku, and now he's back. But I think we need to spend a little bit more time on this one. To understand my thoughts on Kululululululu, we have to go back to where the series had come from. Let's take For Ultimate as an example. Maps are divided into distinct separate zones with loading screens in between. Watch the monster before it sees you, and they just kind of walk around aimlessly. Now, what happens if there's more than one monster in the same zone? Honestly, nothing. Nothing particularly happens, they both just try and fight you. No interactions with the world, and no interactions between them. The heritage of Monster Hunter prior to World was one of somewhat abstract boss fights placed in the shell of an environment. If that's all you know of Monster Hunter, then that's all you expect. Enter our feathered friend here. We meet him in an expedition, causing a ruckus by minding his own business digging up pots. Alarmed at our presence, he runs away. Okay, that's personality. Whether or not you consider that a desirable personality is a different matter. But it's not so abstract. It's not a generic meanie monster. Not just a boss fight, but a creature inhabiting an ecosystem. Follow him around in the Wildspire Waste and you'll see him steal eggs and take them back to his nest and promptly waste most of it. Fight him and he's not just some miscellaneous raptor. He'll dig up rocks to defend himself and to strike back with. He's a product of his environment. Or should we say, product of the world. See what I did there? He exemplifies for me the quantum leap that Capcom took in this generation. From a quirky boss rush gauntlet to an immersive wonderland. He's the embodiment of the title. He is Monster Hunter World. And he is my first S tier. And then we get onto a generic ugly flying wyvern with an annoying tailspin. Pookie. Wouldn't invite him to a party, probably smells awful, inoffensive and kind of forgettable. B tier. Baroth. You know what? Not too bad. Not too bad at all. His steam train antics are goofy, but like in the kind of good goofy, not the bad kind. He also has the decency to introduce us to the concept of bad hit zones and mild body horror when you knock off his crest. Ew. I love his interactions with Gyrotodas and Diablos. kinda like this guy. I like the cut of his jib. His jib is well cut. Baroth, A tier. Alright, now we get on to beige fish. You know what? I would have totally forgotten about this beige boy if it wasn't for Rise. Why was he in Rise anyway? Anyway, this is about World. The issue here is he's just a fish with legs. He ventures not far and wide, but near and narrow, which is a funny way of saying the opposite. Only occupying a select few wet locations in, ironically, one of the driest environments in the New World. I feel like I've already given him more time than he's worth. C tier. Toby Kadachi, Fur Fox Snake. Elegant, graceful, psychotic, kinda like your ex. Turn that focus camera on if you dare. B tier. Anjana. Did that kind of like the announcer from Smash Brothers. Anybody feel like this was kind of the pseudo flagship? This was definitely my first wall in the game, but what starts as a terrifying menace eventually dulls. And sadly what remains is just the most annoying, slippery, obnoxious fights in the game. Terrible hit zones, incessant screaming, and I swear his downtime is like half that of normal. Every time I see that icon on a quest screen I shudder. Not from difficulty, but from the impending blood pressure management. I hate Anjanath and everything he stands for. F tier. And also, why does he have to have wind pressure? That's so annoying. Rathian. Woo. Yeah. Look, if you want to learn a new weapon, here's your sandbag. Dependable, if slightly irritating. It's Green Rathalos, and it likes to run around a lot. Like, a lot. It's really easy to lance though. I think I'm just a bit desensitized to her at this point. C tier. Sutsi Yaku. And now we start talking actual proper lance stuff. Woo! This was about when I started taking up the lance. The childlike joy when I realised you could just block his flashes with your shield. As a lance community, many of us look up to our Grandmaster Seraphic Zero. And I once heard him refer to Satsiki Yaku as Paparazzi Chicken, and lo, for that name shall ever remain. Paparazzi Chicken goes in the A tier. Just good memories for me, that's all. Yes, good memories, as opposed to this one. Rat face bag. Palumi. I have nothing but raging contempt for everything this ugly runt represents. He stole the beaver's tail, trying to usurp Simon Cowell. Constant wind pressure and shouting. Typical flying wyvern toxicity. At least I can poke him in his face fairly well with the lance, but other than that he's F tier trash and I never want to see him again. Great Gyros. This dude gets a bad rap. Actually, honestly, he doesn't really get any rap at all. But I am a Gyros sympathiser. Always makes me giggle when I'm in a hunt in the Rotten Vale, and him and his cronies come and mob any downed monster. Look, I'm not saying I'm gunning for his return. I mean, I'm a lance main after all. Get it? Because I'm not gunning, I'm using a lance. Anyway. But I kind of like his scrappy, let's get him boys attitude. Radoban. Hey, yeah! That's what I'm talking about. That's what I've been waiting for. I love this dude. He's exactly who he wants to be. A big, bony lad. And isn't that what we all are? Big, bony lads and ladettes. At least he's living his truth. Love that he has his own little race course around the Vale. Oh, and the environmental use in the fight. Using the toothseas of Dalmadur to knock him out. The use of rocks, the way he ramps up the walls. Oh, it's all so good. I imagine he's into punk music, but like the Distillers and the Clash, not like Green Day or Good Charlotte. Anyway, I digress. S tier. Legiana. Here she is. Drink it in, ladies and gentlemen, our sole representative of the ice element in base world. They needed an entire expansion just to compensate. What was with the distribution of elements in this game? Fire, fire, and more fire. Poor, lonely, ice-proof mantle. Legilana is a right faff. Not a fan. And honestly, while sleek, I don't have anything else to say about the design. D tier. Not awful, just annoying. Odogoron. Okay. Whoa, yeah! Man, the Rotten Vale was saturated with goats, wasn't it? Not literal goats, but you know, greatest of all time. Yeah. I'm going to keep rabbiting on about it because it is what mattered to me the most. The environmental storytelling, the all-consuming immersion. This is what transformed this series in my mind from neat boss game fight in 4U to a way of life in world. And doesn't Odogoron just perfectly encapsulate what the apex predator of the Rotten Vale would look like? Gnarly claws, furless, fanged, and amped up on efflusial steroids. Special shout out goes to the high rank armor for that sweet, sweet protective polish, and for being a fashion hunter's dream. I think it's up there with my most hunted monsters. Absolute S tier. I mean, wait, hang on a second. We should probably be a little bit more clear. If this is low or high rank, yeah, S tier. If it's master rank, yeah, maybe let's just bump that down to A, at least until he's tired himself out. You know what? I'm surprised we didn't see him in Rise. Well, here's hoping that we'll see him in Wilds. Rathalos. It's red Rathian, but he flies more. Okay, he's a lot more tolerable than in his previous iterations, but my eyes still wander off to hide inside their sockets every time I have to take him on in a quest. It's the series' flagship for whatever reason. He'll always be around. At least we can knock him out the skies easily in this one. D tier. Diablos. I'm starting to see why I loved this game so much. Diablos' intro sequence. Oh my very days. Peak monster design. Simplicity in concept, delivered in ferocious efficiency. We'll just have to take their word for it that they can dig that fast. A lance main's dream, the definition of hold your ground. Simple, predictable, makes you feel like an absolute unit. For lancers, this is Monster Hunter chill out time. S tier. Dodo Gama. Dear life, this thing is so damn cute! I just want to keep one as a pet and squeeze his chubby wuppy cheeks. I'd feed him rocks all day and he can bury himself in the backyard. I'd live and die for him, and so would you, S tier. You can't tell me otherwise. Pink Rathian. Take the boredom of Rathian and make her pink. And far, far, far more annoying. When the only memories you have of this thing are negative, you know something's up. I hate these subspecies that are just a different decal and slightly more annoying variations on their moves. No new element or mechanics or nothing like that. And they built her up so much in this game. The start of high rank, you have to go searching for scales and it's just something that looks like a Rathalos, honestly. F tier. Okay, now we get to a big one. Basil Geese. Or however you pronounce it. I'll say Basil from now on. And I think this is where we may need to pause for a moment and reflect. Meeting Basil for the first time is one of those moments that becomes ingrained into your core experience of world. Down in the comments, tell me about your first meeting. Where was it? What did you think? Did you try and fight him? How did it go? For me, it was in that little corridor down in the Wildspire Waste near the Gadjalaka. Damn. Those little psychos were a law unto themselves, weren't they? Yeah, the fight did not go well. I think he one-shotted me with one of his egg scale things. Thought he was the coolest looking monster at the time. It was a real special moment. And then you meet him again and you're like, oh cool, found that dude again. Alright, hold on to your butts. And then you meet him again. And again. And again. Look, I'm all for the idea of an invading species, A monster that can show up on any hunt and wreck shop. But there needs to be at least some degree of rarity to it. Otherwise, you take what would be a high stakes moment and wind up with monotony. It just kind of makes you cringe. It's too much, man. Basil as a monster is an exquisite addition to the pantheon, but the frequency really hurt that experience. And I feel like that was true for many of us. So design, S tier, implementation, D tier, and overall, C. It was really good that Iceborne gave us some respite from it. Alright, shall we talk about Deviljho now? It's a little out of order in terms of the release date, but in terms of when you'd encounter him now, this feels about right. Between him and Basil, you just can't get any peace in high rank. But he's as intimidating as your primary school PE teacher, and just as loud. Hopefully your PE teacher didn't spew dragon breath though. Deviljho is a grade A nut job, and he ain't afraid to show it. Took me quite a while to figure him out. In the end, he's actually a really easy matchup for the Lance. And I feel like most of us must have had that one experience where we power guard through his sweep attack and then smack him and then he goes sent flying. That is Lance main crack right there. Just please remember to bring your guard up or you'll have a bad time. Dang though. Shame that his armor is ugly. His lance is awesome though. It sparkles. A tier. Warning. Some of what I'm about to discuss may be distressing, but some subjects do need to be talked about. They are important for us as a society in order to move on. Take a deep breath and come with me on this journey. They say in London you're only ever 5 meters from a rat. They say that 1 in every 4 people will commit a crime. Why am I saying this? Well, let's look at the results of the Monster Hunter Favourite Monster survey. See in last place? Number 228. That's a steel Uragan. Hey, that's very understandable. He's not everyone's taste, and that's a version that's not come up in newer games. But there's an implied reality here that's unnerving. Follow up the list. Keep going. There. Do you see it? Number 179. Lavasioth. Let that sink in for a moment. Enough people believe that Fishface is the best monster that he's not 228. Who? Who are these people? It could be anyone. It could be your teacher, your boss, the bus driver, your local congressman. They are out there. People who genuinely love this absolute monstrosity. Is it you? Did you vote for this thing? Speak now, down in that comment section. Why? I mean, Gordon Bennett, what's not to hate? He's charcoal Gyarados. He spends half the fight unreachable. Not even that Decoration Pinata event quest could redeem him. Please don't fret though. Go to sleep tonight. I'm not sure that Lavasioth lovers are even integrated into society. They probably live in the hills, sustaining off of moss and bugs. You'll likely never know if you meet them. They know to keep that well under wraps. Oh yeah, we're doing a tier list. F tier. Uragan. Yeah boy! I don't know if you relate to this, but sometimes a love for a monster develops more out of necessity than inspiration. So Uragan is more than a bit annoying upon his first introduction. He's got like 1 billion health, keeps shaking the ground and exploding things. But he does have this one thing. We call it guard up. Uragan's armor in high rank is all round pretty gosh darn good for lancing anyway. So it's a bit of a no-brainer for one such as I. So the two of us had to learn how to get along. And I'm glad we did. He's a sleeker, more refined Radaban. I feel like he's the kind of guy who's really into thrash metal, but specifically Slayer and Anthrax because he thinks Metallica are mainstream sellouts. I'm not saying I agree with him, but it's just the vibe I get. Also, he looks so cool in Master Rank when he's sheathed in fire. S tier Prince. Azure Rathalos. Azure will always give me PTSD from his incarnation in 4 Ultimate. Look, at least you can knock him out of the sky with a bug now. A lot more easily than you could before. But he can naff off for all I care. Pink and Azure both just kind of feel like wastes of a monster slot. D tier. Black Diablos. Yeah, I think we all had the same reaction when we went to Master Rank. What is this absolute lunacy? Black Diablos always felt a little misplaced in the power scale. Being described as essentially on par with its beige counterpart feels like a definite step up. But still, provided you have the correct sharpness, he's absolutely no issue for Lance. Just please remember to bring guard up for Master Rank. A tier. The Elder Dragons. Ooh, here's where we're getting a little more dicey. These are hit and miss. I guess elders would tend to elicit that reaction though, right? I mean, after all, they are supposed to be almost the toughest challenge, if we assume the likes of Behemoth and Fatalis are the absolute toughest. And then we got the arch-tempered variations to consider. I'll just mix that in with the individuals because sometimes there's very little difference. Kirin, the most non-dragon of all conceivable dragons. Horse was legendary around the community during the world life cycle. Absolute annihilation, especially arch-tempered Haunts. Bring your Thunder Mantles, boys. It's just such a weird case study of a monster. Only 2 hit zones, one of which essentially becomes effectively null and void. So really just 1? And it feels like your experience would vary wildly depending on your choice of weapon. Thankfully, and perhaps unintuitively, Lance actually has an awesome matchup against it. It took me a while to realise that though, to be fair. I always just went for Hammer. It was pretty fun though, until he would just randomly paralyse me, of course. Where shall we put this one? C tier. Zora Magdaros. This thing. I'm just so done with these kind of quests. When the core gameplay is weapon interaction. But no, the monster is so oversized that they have to switch to artillery. Hope you like fighting abstract boulders, babysitting, and slowly loading up cannons until a Dragonator is ready. Also that the commander can try and capture an Elder Dragon. And sometimes these experiences are redeemed by the gravitas of the setting and the design of the monster. But no, we're just in some random canyon. And Zora looks like a cardboard box with a bunch of seaweed stuck to it. And the arch-tempered version was the same, but with an artificially tight time limit. Boring. F tier. Nergigante. Your second most loved monster, apparently. Gonna be real with you? The design doesn't really do it for me. I'm not offended by it though, so it doesn't really matter. His dive bomb is legendary, though us Lancers can just block it. I don't think you even need guard up to do so, which is lovely. But what stops this being an average C tier monster is the design of the battle itself. The subconscious time limit of needing to break the spikes while they are pale. Otherwise you incur his signature move. Basically, in a few minutes, one of you is dying, one way or another. So, B tier. Wish I could say the same for Arch-Tempered. You know that lovely idea of having a high aggression fight fueled by the objective to break his spikes? Well, what if we, I don't know, tripled the damage required to break those? So most people just kind of can't. So you effectively eliminate that whole mechanic from the monster. Yay! Now let's give him probably about 4 times the health. But we're used to the moves, right? You know what we're also used to? How hard hitting attacks have a reasonable wind up so you can be informed and do something. Ah! Absolutely diabolical. F tier. Just terrible. Teostra. Kitten used to really freak me out. It's the way he just keeps like running, but like a lot and at you. Always had me on edge, nerve-wracking. till you realise that his supernova can be blocked with guard up and he's actually low-key the easiest Elder Dragon. And then he becomes your deco grind fodder and it's all good. To be fair though, he's got a banging soundtrack. Kind of a boring design though in my opinion. C tier. Don't think there's anything else to say about the Arch-Tempered version, is there? Can't remember what changed in that. Anyway, let's move on. Kushala... Windbag. Okay. Let's just try and find some words for this. We'll start with the positives. Windbag has a sleek design. Not sure if I like it, but I'll say that much. It's sleek. And that about does it for the positives. We'll start with high rank. He's got the breeze aura that flinches you anytime you get close to it. How close? I don't know. Whatever the game feels like. It's basically invisible, so you can't be too sure. So for about 2/3 of the fight, you can only attack his stupid face. And that's not some superfluous derogatory statement. His face is stupid. If you down him, be real careful where you position yourself because he'll just move you out of the way. No, we're not done yet. You know what became one of the great toxic traits of endgame world game design? Every freaking monster just had to have area denial. Just have to give the battlefield that homely claustrophobic feeling with like a bajillion tornadoes. But there is solace. By solace, I mean flash pods. Yep, you know where this is going, don't you? One time, I stopped playing the game for like several weeks because I tried to fight Arch-Tempered Kushala Daora. I just got so bored that I was like, maybe this game just isn't for me right now. How fun, a monster who's always out of reach, and when you try to get close, you get wind stunned. Terrible! And I think Capcom realised that, but now is not the time for his redemption arc. F tier. A very, very close run-in for the absolute worst monster. Vale Hazak. Whee! Okay, we can cheer up a little bit now. Death Dragon is a pretty sick design. Effluvium can be a pain in the backside, but there are decos for that, and that just rewards forward planning. His turf war with Dog is particularly funny and unique. He's all gnarly and freaky. Perfect elder of the rotten Vale. Even sleeps on a pile of old bones. You know what? A tier. Xanorjiva. Yeah, now we're shifting along nicely. See, it's crazy shiz like this is what final bosses are all about. Big weird alien dragon with like 8 eyes and translucent blue skin. Granted, much of the fight is just tickling his toes, but still, I'm putting him in A tier for sheer originality. Then you know what? Wrap him up in aluminium foil and give him a bunch of new moves, and you've got an excellent Arch-Tempered. Surprisingly great matchup for the Lance as well. S tier. Okay, we're on a roll. Let's go for it, guys. We've got Lunastra. I wonder if you could collect the data at how much people have sworn at any given monster and tallied them up. What's the bet that she'd be number 1? And with good reason. No mere blue Teostra. She's a whole new league of evil. Incessant wind pressure. Constant aggression. And I'm not critting? Weakness exploit isn't working? What do you mean? What do you mean her head isn't her weak spot? Apparently it's not her tail. Her what? Her wings are her melee weak spot? Who decided that? An insect glaive main? A heckin' bug boy? So the single most inaccessible spot is the point where she's weakest? And sure, she has like 1 billion health, why not? Honestly, enough bile has been spilled over her roar into wind pressure into supernova combo, so we'll move on. From my opinion, just an absolute F tier disgrace. Genuinely awful in every perceivable way. Well, except 2 ways. She's a gorgeous blue, isn't she? And I love that her theme is melodically the same as Teostra's, but it's remixed instruments like a harp and a female choir. And her master rank armor is absolute peak fashion hunting. Anyway, just the worst monster in the entire game. Cove Taroth, the Empress of Gold. Bow before her regal splendor and... Wait, milady, come back! Cove Taroth. Never been ghosted so much since Lavender Town. Stupid Marowak. Where to start? Well, super cool design, unique fight, but dang cool to have such a unique map. Honestly, I wish they'd expanded this place and had the Caverns of El Dorado be its own map. They put so much effort into it. So shiny. And it's just a conflicting mess of emotions, you know? On the one hand, she has this huge array of weapons with unique stats, some of which are best in class. On the other hand, she has this huge array of weapons with unique stats, some of which are best in class. So good luck getting the one you want. Flippin' Taroth Crest Claw. On the one hand, she's this special fight with unique mechanics. On the other hand, those mechanics should probably have stayed unique and never seen the light of day again. On one foot, it's an event that encourages teamwork and brings people together. But on the other knee, it's an event that requires teamwork and forces you to join discords with strangers where you're just hoping they don't steal your personal data because the internet is scary and people are crazy. On one lung, they made her soloable in Master Rank and got rid of the siege crap. But then, on the other intestine, she still runs away and all her moves are tailored to decimating entire teams, so good luck avoiding that. But once you're into the lava area, it's all systems go for a pretty fantastic fight. Guessing this is a Jewel Blader's paradise. Doing the Spine Wrangler. One of my most distinct memories with Lance was when she tried to head slam me, but I countered it into a horn break. So good. Shame I wasn't recording. Oh, that felt so good. And her final phase is probably one of my favourite moments in the entire game. The showers of liquid gold, the way she climbs the spire in the middle, the music, the gosh dang music. Oh, and landing the helm splitter with the sword and shield right down her face. I'm gonna put her in A tier. There's a ton of BS in this experience. But there are also so many awesome moments that I just have to commend them for it. And her master rank armor looks amazing. That hair is brilliant. Behemoth, the archetype of the over-centralized meta game. This was the armor everyone used. The slight catch? You needed to team up. Okay, fine. It was technically soloable, but we're not all speedrunners here. Still, I like that Lance was uniquely brilliant at being able to draw its aggro. As long as that one random greatsword main doesn't try and do that first. Greatsword, uniquely not great for filling that role. Hilariously, in the end it was with a bunch of randoms that I actually beat this quest. Took a few attempts though. Beat it, and yeah, I never even attempted Extremeth. Leshen. Yeah, I recognise this guy. He's the bad guy from Riverdale Season 3. What a strange choice of series for a collaboration. Not even sure Riverdale had been made yet, let alone the worst season of all. Anyway, back to Monster Hunter. It was actually a lovely experience to see Pookie fighting alongside you, but I don't really care for The Witcher, so I don't really have any strong opinions here. C tier. Finally, Ancient Leshen. A harder version of a fight I don't really care about, for a reward I'm not really interested in. No thanks. Cool design though, that's for sure. But yeah, C tier. Whew! What a marathon, we got there in the end. So what do you think? I really hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment on anything that I've said. It was really cool to see your comments in the last video, it means a lot. Obviously I'm a very small channel at the moment, but I hope to grow it more. I'm really enjoying making these videos. Well, I hope you have a lovely week whatever you're doing, and I'll catch you on the other side.